I'm a student at Harvard.
MIT, Caltech,
Columbia.
Our advantage? Support at home, plus great teachers and programs at Orange County Public Schools. Check out what's available for your child.
There are magnet programs, advanced placement and honors classes, and guidance counselors who help us choose the right courses.
There are dual enrollment classes with Valencia College, so students can earn college credit while in high school.
OCPS has programs for every type of learner, pre-kindergarten through adult.
You won't believe what you can do through Orange County Public Schools.
For more information, visit the website at ocps.net or call 407-317-3200.
All right, well, good evening. I know you all think this is an elite modeling shoot and not a school board meeting, because that's all we've been doing up here is taking photos. But welcome to the Orange County School Board. We're so glad to have everybody with us tonight. If you could please turn off your cell phones and pagers, and we'll go ahead and jump right into this meeting. You've probably noticed that we have a packed room tonight because we are recognizing two very popular high school sports teams and two sports teams that we're extremely proud of here at Orange County Public Schools. And those are the team members from Apopka High School's varsity football team and Colonial High School's cross-country team, both of which are state champions this year. And we are going to brag on them a little bit more after the moment of silence and the pledge. But before we do that, if I could ask Zach Darlington and Caleb Licht to come to the podium. These are the respective captains of the Colonial cross-country team, Caleb, and the Apopka football team, Zach Darlington. Zach and Caleb, we're all yours.
I'm going to ask everyone to please stand and bow your heads for a moment of silence. And now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
All right, well, thank you, Caleb and Zach. We are so proud of both of these teams, and I want to thank both Caleb and Zach for leading us in the pledge. We'd like to congratulate the entire Colonial High School cross-country team for its second consecutive state championship title in a row. Last year was the first state title for Colonial High School since it opened in 1958. And you've done it again, and I have to share with you all a little bit of a personal side. I have a daughter who runs cross country, and let me tell you, nothing will make you feel older than to get out there and see how fast these guys run. I don't think I could sprint a 100-meter dash as fast as some of these guys run. And Coach P, we are so proud of you and the job you've done with these young men, and I'm especially proud of, and I know I speak for the entire board and all of Orange County Public Schools when I say, and this is very, very important to us to emphasize it, not only are we extremely proud of what you have accomplished in cross country and out there on the field of play, but we're extremely proud of the fact that your team, I understand, has a cumulative GPA of 3.4. So what wonderful role models you are. Also tonight is another two-time state champion, the title for Apopka High School's football team, the Blue Darters. They won the Class 8A, the largest classification in the state of Florida and one of the football hotbeds of the entire country this December in the Citrus Bowl. This was following on the heels of their title in 2001, and now back-to-back for Apopka Blue Darters. And I think what's especially exciting about this particular team, and I had asked this of Coach Darlington recently, recently at another event, is most of this team is coming back. So I think that we expect not only great things next year on the football field, but as I mentioned with Colonial as well, the coaches tell me that every single member of this football team is graduating. We're extremely proud of you. They have a cumulative GPA of 3.0, so what wonderful role models you all for the students of Apopka High School as well. My script says that the game was a nail-biter. I'm a big sports fan, so I know that. They won it by a close score of 53-50, beating Weston Cypress Bay. I want the guys on defense to raise their hand in that game. Guys, come on, 50 points? I'm glad you all have a sense of humor. Now I want the guys on offense to raise their hand and thank the guys on defense. Thank them for bailing you out. No, but in all honesty, that was an incredibly exciting game. I have to share with you a funny aside as well. Mr. Morris, who's the head of our facilities over here, his son plays football for East River High School, and he was commenting to me that they don't look that big. And I said, well, John, they never look big till you stand next to them. Having just taken a photo with them, I can tell you, John, they're big. A lot bigger than us. So we're so proud of y'all, and I know that Ms. Moore is going to want to say something. You will find, and I want to brag a little bit here on Ms. Moore, you will find no more passionate supporter of Apopka football than Christine Moore. I don't know when the last time was that she ever missed a game. So Ms. Moore, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, not only am I decked out in my blue, I even have a darter blue purse. But no, I have just so enjoyed watching this team, and it's just been a remarkable few years. With my daughter's a senior, so I have been around quite a bit the last 4 years, and to watch you on and off the field and the example you've set for the school and the community, and it was just remarkable at the state championship to see 10 or 12,000 people turn out to watch football. One of my favorite pictures when I was able to be down the field was taking a picture of the crowd to see the love and admiration that the town has for these boys. And I have so many good stories. I had to think about which ones I would tell after being so many games. The beginning of the year, it didn't look so good. It didn't, in fact, it looked terrible. And so my mother and I, we each of the board members, we have 2 or 3 high schools. And in the past, the 3 years, I went to every Apopka game, and I'd be in trouble with the principal at Wekiva, and I'd be in trouble with the principal at Ocoee because I always went to the Apopka games. But at the beginning of the season, they were losing. So I was like, well, I'd kind of dug out my Wekiva shirt and my Ocoee shirt, and I'd leave at halftime. And so I didn't even stay at the beginning of the season. I said, this is not going to be the best year. And then all of a sudden, it was like, was it 50-0? And a couple of games, like, what happened to this team? So it was remarkable. And the dedication, we have, Florida School Boards Association meeting in Tampa, and they were playing in Jacksonville the same day. I said, well, I guess I'm going to find out how long it takes to drive from one side of the state to the other. And what a treat that was to be up in Fletcher to watch them play. So we're just so proud of you all. And I love my school so much. And this Saturday, I have one request. Normally, it's I'm a band mom and musician, so we're always out there playing for you. I have a request. This Saturday at 4:10 at the Apopka Amphitheater, we're going to do a big cheer, a big darter cheer in front of the jazz band. And how neat it would be to see the football team come out for the jazz band.
That would be cool.
Wouldn't that be neat?
Very cool.
And of course, sometimes I thought I was an ogre because I would shoo these football players off the field for the band. But no, love you guys, and it was just such a wonderful treat for me to be with you the whole season, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and we'll have a good season next year too. Thank you.
Ms. Moore. Well said, and as somebody who's coached Pop Warner football, I'm sure these guys, when they're going through 105-degree heat in August through 2-a-days, they're probably thinking you're an ogre right now saying that they look bad in August because they were sweating it out there, but they certainly closed well, so congratulations, guys. Ms. Flynn.
Thank you, and I want to congratulate all the athletes, too. Apopka, congratulations. You know, I represent Colonial High School, and my guys were so fast I never could get to the match on time. It was already over, so they're really, really fast. You know, we take pride in all of our high schools, and when you actually represent them one-on-one, you get to know the culture of the school, you get to know the kids, you get to know the leadership, and you hold that special place in your heart for each of the schools, and you know it, and oftentimes you know it like no other people in other communities don't know, and that's the case with Colonial. Colonial has some wonderful athletes and students, has a great culture, and these guys are representative of that whole school. These are Colonial Grenadiers, and they make everybody proud, and that's what I think of Colonial when that's what I think of Colonial when I think of Colonial, are these guys right here. But there were some awards, special awards. Andre, right? Andreas Arroyo, you were Bright House Athlete of the Week. I think you've been accepted into UF. And didn't you also receive another award or recognition? Was it this year or last year? Gatorade Cross Country. Wow. Yeah, so I mean, some really big things. And Coach P, you also received a few awards too for being Coach of the Year. So just stellar accomplishments all the way around. Like my colleague, Ms. Moore, says, I just couldn't be prouder of you. And congratulations, guys. I know you all are going to do fantastic. Same thing for the Apopka team. But we're very, very proud of you. And I want to be at your ring ceremony. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Flynn. And, you know, I always feel like we always are remiss, or I'm remiss in these meetings when I fail to recognize the parents, because nobody achieves at this level in the classroom or on the field of play without a wonderful support system at home. Do we have any of the parents with us tonight, of any of the Apopka players or Colonial? Can you stand up and let us recognize you? Thank you. And I think it goes without saying that no team in a state as large as ours, with as many elite athletes and athletic teams as our state has, achieves these levels of greatness without great coaching. So, Coach Placencia, if you could stand up. Coach P, as we know him, thank you for all you've done. And Coach Darlington, I think we've all read a lot about you in the paper. You're an inspiration to all of us in Orange County Public Schools, so if you could stand and let us recognize you as well. I would love to have your staff, both your staffs, please stand and let us recognize you as well, both Colonial and Apopka. That looked more like the Washington Redskins offensive line than it did the football staff. Those are really some big guys. All right.
I want to say one thing.
Mr. Roach, bail me out.
Yeah, I just want.
I got Miss Gordon cracking up here.
I just can't. I can't let Coach P leave without saying this too. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but I think it takes a lot of courage as well, not only to lead young men into championships, but to run for political office. And Coach P stood up, ran for state legislator, and I was really proud of him. We had a conversation. I thought how cool it would have been to have an educator on the state legislature that actually teaches in a high school. So, Coach P, you had a heck of a great race, and I hope that just encouraged you to keep on running, because if I know anything about this guy, he's probably going to keep on running, and I mean that literally, too. So, congratulations to you. Proud of you.
Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly, as your superintendent, I want to congratulate these young students for not only being stellar athletes, but also being excellent students as well, because you have to maintain your academic program in order to be eligible in the state of Florida, and rightfully so. And so let me add my congratulations to these fine young men for all that they've accomplished, and my thanks and appreciation to the coaching staff, because though it's a well-kept secret, stipends for coaching are not extremely extremely lucrative compared to the time that they have to put in with these young people to get the work done. And so the dedication and the care that they have for these young athletes is certainly evident because it's not financially rewarding. So thank you to the coaches and assistant coaches as well. And commendation to both Dougs, to Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Loftus, principals of the fine schools, for leading the way for our students and our athletes.
We also have another group of very, very special guests that we want to recognize tonight. And we have a theme on our recognitions tonight because the next group of honored guests are our volunteer doctors and athletic trainers who make sure that these young men stay healthy when they're out there playing football or running cross country. And unlike the exploits of the star football players and the star cross country runners that make the papers, these are truly unsung heroes. They volunteer largely their time and services to Orange County Public Schools. We could not run safe athletic events without these doctors and trainers who are here with us tonight. So on behalf of the school board, I want to say thank you very, very much for all you do, and I'd like to invite up our athletic director, Gary Pricer, to say some words and to recognize them individually. Gary.
Thank you very much. Chair Sublette, Vice Chair Moore, school board members, Superintendent Jenkins, appreciate the opportunity to share, as Chair Sublette said, some unsung heroes. And I can probably testify to you to both Apopka and Colonial can say that they would not be where they were without our athletic trainers. Our athletic trainers start before school starts. They're out there working hard with our athletes, not only to make sure they are safe, but they rehabilitate them so they get back on the field and that they can participate. I know during the football season, I'm sure they lost some players, but we got them back on the field, especially down in the playoffs, and also with our cross country. We are very fortunate in Orange County Public Schools to have the quality of athletic trainers that we have. Not just because they're all dressed up pretty tonight, which I told them they had to dress up and they went above and beyond, but because of the hard work and the dedication and the love that they have for kids and the love that they have for Orange County Public Schools. And like for all of our athletic trainers, if they would please stand and let's recognize them for the great job that they do. Thank you very much. They look pretty good, don't they? I'll tell you right now. All right. Okay, also, unsung heroes. I coached football back when you took your helmet off and put it in your pocket. Okay, that's how long ago I go back. I'm not supposed to tell funny jokes here now, right? I'll be good, okay? This might be the last time y'all ask me to speak, but that's okay. And what was valuable back in those days, we didn't have athletic trainers at all, but we had our volunteer doctors. And they came out, and some of our doctors that we're going to recognize tonight and honor tonight have been with us between 5 and 30 years. And I know one of the doctors is not with us tonight, which is, I'm a little disappointed, is Dr. Maluso, who came to Apopka when I was there as athletic director. And then when I went there as football coach of Dr. Phillips, he followed me, and he's been doing it for 30 years. But we have a lot of our doctors here tonight. Some of them are not here. The ones that are not here, I'd like to at least recognize them. I'm sure they're in surgery, right, Dr. Hurd? They're probably in surgery or doing something important. We have Dr. Albright, who represents Evans and Apopka. We have Dr. Maluso, who represents Dr. Phillips. We have Dr. Costello, who represents Winter Park. We have Dr. Zilioli from Winter Park, Dr. Schroeder from Colonial, Dr. Van Dyke from Edgewater, Dr. Homan from Freedom High School, Dr. Winters from Jones High School, Dr. Torres from Cypress Creek High School, Dr. Minster from Cypress Creek High School, Dr. Urbanus from Wekiva, Dr. Cox from University, and Dr. Baker from Boone, and Dr. Mackey from Winter Park. I'd like to give them a hand too, because they could not be here tonight, but we appreciate their service very much. At this time, we will introduce the doctors that are here and pay honor to them. what we will do is our athletic trainer will come up with them and meet the board, and we have a special certificate and plaque for them presented from our athletic trainers. Okay, our first. Drum roll. Oh, never mind. Okay, sorry, I forgot where I was. Dr. Moiser from Winter Park. Elaine and I practiced this, so we're seeing how good she is. Okay, we also, next is Dr. Lapp from Colonial. Dr. Nowicki from Ocoee and Olympia. Dr. Roos from Boone High School. I said that wrong. Did I say that wrong? I did. Yeah, that's what I thought. Dr. Schwartzberg from University in Timber Creek. And Oak Ridge. Sorry, what? Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm sure they'll tell me later about that one, right? And Dr. Hurd from Edgewater High School, who I had the privilege of working with him when I was football coach at Edgewater. Dr. Hurd. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. Without these unsung heroes, our athletic trainers and doctors, our student athletes would not be taken care of the way they are, and we for sure appreciate their time and volunteer. Our doctors volunteer their time to be on call, not only for the sports in the fall, but throughout the season. And let's give them one more hand, and thank you so much for honoring them tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Prizer, for handling that for us. I'm going to start calling Gary Leatherhead after that quip about not having helmets back then. And I want to thank in particular all of our volunteer doctors because gosh knows these men and women have incredibly busy schedules, and it's truly a labor of love that they come out and they tend to the needs of our sports teams. Before we recess for a moment for folks to file out, I would like to ask Coach P to please come up, and I know everybody on the board would like to shake your hand, Coach P, and also the hands of your assistant coaches, and Coach Darlington, if you could come on up as well. We have some certificates for you to hand out to your players, and Coach Darlington, if you could have your assistants come up as well, we'd like to shake their hands as well. And then after we do that, we're going to take a temporary recess of about 5 minutes for everybody to file out. Coach P? Yeah.
Come on, Coach Delgado, can you get going here, buddy? Come on. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Congratulations. Good to see you.
All right. Why don't we do this? Coaches, we're going to go into the business portion of our meeting now, so if you'd like, I know we're getting on FCAT time, and the boys got to go home and do some studying, so we're going to go ahead and excuse you all and go out and either celebrate or go home and hit the books, okay? Thank you again. Congratulations.
Yeah, get your stuff, right? Excuse me.
Did you say that every board?
All right. Board members, let's go ahead and do this. Let me make a couple preliminary announcements while folks are channeling out. First of all, anybody who would like to address an item on our consent or our non-consent agenda may do so by completing an appropriate yellow form, such as this up here at the head table. You can get those from Mrs. McGill, who is the lady at the far left-hand side of the dais to your left hand. When the time comes up for the agenda item for you to speak, I will call on you. You will have 3 minutes to address the board. And there's a time clock up there, and please start by saying your name and address. If you have schedule constraints, let us know, and we'll try to meet those as well. We're about to go into our strategic plan update. Just so you know, folks in the audience, if we're not looking at what you're looking at on the overhead monitor, it's because we have small monitors in front of us and we're following along in front of us. So with that, let me turn it over to Superintendent Jenkins to take us into our strategic plan update. And Superintendent, I don't know if this is a good time, but we also have a special guest tonight that I don't know if you wanted to recognize that person now or in a moment.
Sure.
Somebody we're excited to have with us tonight.
We are very pleased to have Dr. Shelley Billig, who is with RMC Research. That is the organization that contracts with the Broad Foundation to actually come and do site visits. Normally when districts are one of 4 finalists, that research is conducted. We were recipients of a grant from the Broad Foundation that allowed us to have a site visit without actually being a finalist. And Dr. Billig, who's behind the podium, you'll have to stand up so they can see you, is actually in town tonight because she will be doing the debrief and sharing the outcomes of that report with our cabinet members, with a group of principals, and with the school board. And we're also going to have an opportunity to speak with the editorial board tomorrow morning as well. So Dr. Billig, would you like to say a word at least? I hate to have you here and not give you a chance.
That's fine. I'll just send some congratulations to all of you for the fine work you've been doing so far. And I know you'll meet the challenges ahead. I'm looking forward to speaking to you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Superintendent, if I can comment for a second, we were like a bunch of school kids going to church. Mom and Dad gathered us around. We said, now we have Dr. Billig here. Everybody behave tonight because Broad's very, very important to us. So Dr. Billig, we're going to be on our best behavior tonight for you. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are tonight going to have a strategic update on our financial portion of our strategic plan in particular. From time to time, we have updates specific to the plan. It's important that we keep the board aware of any adjustments and changes and some very good news that's been added to our strategic plan. And so your Chief Financial Officer, Rick Collins, is going to share with you the update on the strategic plan portions that pertain to our financial functions. With that, Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. One Board members, in front of you, I've laid out a copy of the PowerPoint that I'm going through tonight, as well as the details of the items that are the results of our scorecard information. It's in front of you, so I'll go through all of the data, but I'm going to use the PowerPoint as sort of as the guide for guiding us through the process. First off, I'm going to start with the actual district scorecard information. The first section I'm going to talk about is dealing with financial ratings. That's one of our goals here, is to maintain our financial ratings high. The strategy for doing that is to maintain adequate reserves, keep our debt service requirements below legal and market limits, and the results of operations align with the planned budget. In other words, not spending more than we actually budget. If you look at the actual results of these of our financial ratings, you can see our COPS ratings are currently at AA3, AA minus, and AA by the three major rating agencies. I will point out that Moody's gives us an outlook indicator of positive, S&P and Fitch outlook indicator of stable, and again, we received a ratings upgrade in 2011-12. We do not have any new ratings for 2012-13 at this time, but once if we issue new debt, we will go out and get new ratings at that time. This board has already approved a refunding issue. Once we decide to execute that refunding, then we would go to the rating agencies and get an updated rating at that time. Okay, the next item is and by the way, in your detailed packet, we have a table in there that shows the actual ratings that the rating agencies provide. For instance, the Moody's goes from AAA down to Baa3 as far as investment grade ratings, and you can see that all of our debt is qualified in the high quality area. The integrated business plan is actually at the end of that data. That the integrated business plan actually goes with that first section of data. Okay, the next item is maintaining the highest financial reporting standards. In order to accomplish that and to measure it, we want to make sure that we receive an unqualified opinion on our annual audit, our annual external audit. And that external audit is actually on our comprehensive annual financial report. We want to receive the actual awards from both the ASBO, which is the Association of School Business Officials, and the Government Finance Officers Association. Just to kind of lead you through the timeline on that, the first thing that happens is we produce an annual financial report, and then the annual financial report is due like in September. Then we go from there to produce a comprehensive annual financial report that has a lot more data in it than just the regular annual financial report. Included in that comprehensive annual financial report is the actual audit report, because the audit is done on the comprehensive annual financial report. Like I said, the audit takes place, so that's included in the CAFR, which we refer to it. And then once we do all of that, then we submit an application to these award entities and to these entities, and they will then go through and evaluate our CAFR to determine if it meets their high standards of financial reporting. So that process takes about a year from the time your fiscal year ends and the time you get through the actual financial reporting and the awards process. So it takes about a year before we actually finally get the award. So it's sort of a cyclical process that we continue to do every year. Okay, going on to the financial investments. With our financial investments, we invest all of our funds using what we call the SLY strategy, safety, liquidity, and yield. or in the last part, it's return on investment as well. You can refer to it that way. But that's in that order. Safety of our investments first, liquidity, which means that how quickly can you get the money out of the investment, and then finally, return on investment is the final item in that strategy. We utilize competitive bidding when appropriate. We monitor for compliance with our board policy. If you take a look at your investment policy, it's a very detailed policy that oversees that investment program. And then we provide quarterly results to the board on the results of our investment program. We have complied with our investment strategy, and we've exceeded our benchmark returns as well. Okay, now moving on into the extended scorecard. Okay, I'm going to start off with the finance section. In their extended scorecard, one of the items they wanted to achieve would be to meet the race to the top quarterly reporting requirements. Those are very extensive requirements that we have to meet within 5 days of the end of the quarter. We have to have that report completed and transmitted within 5 days of the end of the quarter. So it's a very diligent process we have to apply in order to get that done. We've been able to meet all of our quarterly reporting requirements on Race to the Top. One of the other objectives is when property custodians change. We're trying to complete physical inventory within 30 days for 55% of those inventories. The results of that is that we actually met that requirement, and actually we were able to over 95% of our inventories were actually done within the 30 days. The next one is actually a new one where we're going to implement electronic pay methods for vendor payments. This is the first year of this particular objective, and we're in the system design right now for this current year, and we're actually in the process of implementing that. We will move forward with actual implementation next year. And then finally, one of the other objectives is the online travel reimbursement and payment process. It's supposed to be designed by July 2013. It's actually been designed and is currently in the testing phase. Okay, in the Office of Management and Budget, one of our objectives was to create furniture, fixtures, and equipment standards for our capital projects. We did that for both elementary schools and middle schools. We've now shifted this particular objective over to our facilities department, and they're moving forward with that for the high schools. We were looking to save time in the upload of budget data. The objective was to save 200 hours of man time in the actual upload of our budget data into our finance system. We were actually able to save about 579 hours by use of a tool that we acquired. And so we actually were able to do that much faster this year. We're supposed to implement the W-4 on the employee self-service. In other words, that's putting the W-4s out there so that employees can actually update it themselves. So we were looking to try to complete that this year. The testing has actually been complete on that, and we are preparing to go live shortly on that particular component. And finally, we were supposed to complete testing of our EPARS project, which is for electronic submission of our tax-sheltered annuities. The goal was to try to have that testing complete. We've actually completed the whole process, and that system is actually up and operational now. Moving over to risk management, one of our objectives was to keep our percentage of members who do not use benefits at or below 3.5%. So you ask, well, why would you want to keep utilization down? Well, the reality, or actually up, why would we want utilization to be actually up? Well, what happens is if people do not use their medical benefits, you have these large medical claims that will occur over time that actually will cost your plan a whole lot more money. So our objective is actually to make sure that our employees know what their benefits are and encourage them to use those benefits, annual physicals and that type of thing, to make sure that they're healthy. We wanted to make sure we maintain a customer satisfaction with our insurance benefits offerings at an 86% approval rating. The survey is currently underway and will be complete. The information will actually be available in March, so we will post that information once it's available. One of the objectives was to reduce drug costs by about $800,000 per year from Medicare Part D subsidy plan, as long as it's available. It's actually a federal plan, so we had to put that contingency in here that it has to be available at the federal level. We received over $900,000 from this program last year. We're moving forward with all of our applications for this year and hope to be able to recover our desired goal in this area. We do not know that at this time. Finally, the actual cost savings should remain positive for our owner-controlled insurance program. This is the program where we actually deduct money from our construction contracts and actually control the builder's risk insurance. We're actually phasing out this program, but we're trying to make sure that the program that's remaining until October of next year is a positive program, that we're not actually losing money on the program. We're trying to make sure that we at least break even on it. So right now, we're currently in the black, and so the program is still positive at this point. Business process specialists. These are the guys that actually are the liaisons between the functional areas and our ICTS area to try to make the system work. One of the things that we identified early on is that these people are very marketable, and there's a high transition. They move around a lot. So we want to make sure that we had a system that was in place that created redundancy in their area. So we created that system. It's done, and we update it regularly. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that we had a common area for storing their documents. As they're working on these programs and this work, there's a common area where they actually store their information, so that in case one of them leaves or gets sick or whatever, the others could pick up from where they left off and carry on the work without having to start all over. So that process, the document is already in place, or the storage area is already in place, and they are utilizing that storage area. The final area I'm going to cover tonight is the state reporting. This is a new area for the finance area this year. We wanted to improve our state reporting by conducting district-wide training. That district-wide training actually took place August 18th of this year, and a WebEx link was actually created to allow schools to go out and go through that training remotely. The improved state reporting by updating the data calendar. The data calendar actually provides the roadmap of when various functions have to take place, and we wanted to make sure that that was updated. It was updated as of August 20th, so that's been completed. We wanted to achieve traditional school class size reduction compliance by ensuring that the updates of the rules and limits by our contract vendor was done by August 20th. That was achieved. And then finally, achieving traditional school class size compliance by providing scheduling assistance to our schools as requested by October 12th. That was also provided, and as a result of all of the actions that were taking place in the area of class size reduction, we were actually able to achieve 100% compliance for all of our traditional schools for this year. So that concludes my brief report, and I'll turn it back over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Members of the board, just 3 additional comments. I think it's important for the public to understand we are very transparent when it comes to our strategic scorecard. If they go on the website, on the school board's page, anyone can access the actual scorecard. That is the front page measures that we like to keep out front. They can see the data as well as the business plans for those front page measures, and then they can also see the extended scorecard that has significant additional documentation as well. It's very important to us and to this board in times past as well as now that we are completely transparent. Secondly, I think it's important for our community to understand how diligent we are around managing our financial resources. Most people are surprised that we are a $2.8 billion corporation. That's a pretty large corporation, and that we have significant business professionals and non-instructional professionals that help us run some of those back house operations. And I have to remind you, although we do have one of the few CFOs with a sense of humor, he is also award-winning, according to OBJ, as the public sector CFO of the year. And so I like for the public to know, number one, that we're transparent, number two, that we have highly competent staff available and very serious about managing our finances. I think this board has always been very conservative during tough financial times. You were extremely conservative and reserved funds so that we would not deal with financial cliffs and significant problems that other districts had to deal with. Additionally, our community supported us in the additional mill, so we didn't have to deal with significant financial issues. And then on top of that, we've just been conservative so that we would be prepared for sequestration or anything else that might come down the pike regarding our finances. And so we're happy to provide that update to you and answer any questions you might have at this time.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jenkins, and thank you, Mr. Collins. Mrs. Gordon.
Yes, thank you. I do want to thank Mr. Collins and his staff basically for the type of fiscal finances that they've been doing for our school system as it related especially to our ratings, because we did have some problems in the past because of the economy, trying to get everything back in focus, but I'm so glad that the ratings have remained positive and stable. Even though with Fitch, we are just at we lost our positive, and but we're stable. So.
Yes, ma'am. The reason that we lost the positive on Fitch was because they actually upgraded us.
Right.
So they upgraded us and then put us at stable, at the higher level.
You answered it before I was going to state why, because of the reason why. So you already answered that for us, and okay. I wanted the public to know that was a positive. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the other question, if you look at slide 8 for me, please, and then the next slide would be slide 10. And I did want to compliment you on. And your staff, the compliance with the state reporting, that's a plus for us also. But on slide 8 under finance, I just wanted you to just share if the implementation of the electronic pay method for the vendors payment. I know sometimes when we move over and get into new methods that it slows down the process, and then we have people knocking on our doors asking for their payments of some kind. So have this been field tested in any way, and what is the turnaround, and would it be faster? And then slide 10, I believe it is slide number 10, and that's on page 5. The part that you talked about, keeping the percentage of members who do not use the benefits, I would like to know how are we, what's the check and balance? I know how we do it in Osceola, but what are we doing in Orange to make sure that they are using it and that it's not just going to waste, and that their medical benefits are really being used, and they're looking at the wellness of the program as it relates to the risk management. So those 2 questions, if you can answer for me, please.
Okay. In the area of the electronic pay methods for vendor payments, we're trying to move more away from check payments and more towards electronic payments, something called e-payables, P-card, and then ACH transactions. So those would be the 3 tools that we would use in order to expedite payments to our vendors and try to, so it would depend on the negotiations with the individual vendors as to which payment option that they would take, and we would have to work with our procurement area as well to see if the vendors would be willing to accept an early payment for a discount and that type of thing. So we're looking to move away from the check runs to a more electronic payment system. So it would not slow down the process. Actually, it would allow us to take advantage of potential early pay discounts.
Very good, Mr. Chairman, because that was the part I was wondering if we will be working with vendors individually, because some vendors are very sophisticated and say, yes, go with this method, but I didn't want OCPS imposing and saying this is the way we're going to do it. So there are lots of methods that would make it a comfortable transition for those that do business with OCPS. So thank you so very much.
Yes, ma'am. And the last question that you asked was dealing with the percentage of members who do not utilize their benefits. So we're tracking that to try to see who those vendors are, and we're reaching out to them to try to remind them of what their benefits are and to encourage them to come in for an annual physical and those types of things. So we are reaching out to try to get that percentage down so that at least those employees are taking advantage of their benefits.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Collins and
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mrs. Gordon. Ms. Moore.
Very good, thank you.
Dr. Jenkins, thank you for your comment about the transparency of our financial data being on the website. I think that's just so critical for the public because we're very mindful that these are tax dollars, and anyone who wants to look or research, really is available from any device or home computer. Also, the strategic plan, I think, brings a level of comfort with what we measure each year to bring that comfort to the public. I think it's been significant. We went from 2008 to having to discuss disasters and possible outcomes that were not so endearing, and yet now we're looking at fiscal management, thanks to your leadership, which is very conservative and should bring comfort to the community. And it's really a different place where we are as an organization compared to what we're hearing out of Washington or even many other school districts. So I thank you for your leadership on that, because it's difficult for the public and it's difficult for schools in general to continue if you don't have the confidence of your community and your public. And so I think we avoid trying to ask taxpayers for more funds at all, if at all possible. But if we ever have to, I think you're giving them the confidence that it's transparent, it's available, and that we really are doing due diligence to preserve funds and spend them in the best way possible. And I know we've got our charters out here tonight, but even they were able to benefit from the 1 mil in 2010 with an extra about $400 per student, which is really dependent on your shop. You're part of this organization to bring that comfort to the public. So I appreciate any and all efforts that you continue to express, and by winning the OBJ award, I think that was just another way for this community to realize that we are being very mindful of their money. And so again, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Mr. Roach.
Thanks for the presentation. I've always been very lucky on this board to have real strong, accurate chief financial officers between Dr. Bokoff and Mr. Collins. So I wanted to take this just a minute, Rick, to tell you how grateful I am to you for the accurate information and very timely. I don't think he's ever let me hang in for more than an hour on a question that I've left, because a lot of times when I need financial information, I need it pretty quickly wherever I am. So thanks a lot for that, Rick. That's very meaningful to me to get that kind of help. But so we've always enjoyed strong financial ratings as long as I can ever remember. Seems like we're always winning these things. But what I'd like you to tell me is two things. One, why is that important? Are there, other than bragging rights, is there any gain to having higher financial ratings than those that maybe do not in the districts? And secondly, what kind of things would interfere with that? What do we need to be on the lookout for to dip? So those two are what I want to know.
Well, the financial ratings are critical when you're looking at your cost of debt. If you have to go out and like, for instance, this board recently approved a refunding. If we were going out to the market with that refunding and our ratings were lowered, then we would be paying a higher interest rate. So we would not be able to take advantage of that refunding to the level that we can with our ratings at the current level. So there's a direct cost on a refunding or any kind of new debt issue that you pursue. There's we have some variable rate debt that's out there in the marketplace every day that is reset either every day or every week. So that's contingent upon our district rating as well. So that's really where your ratings come in, that it does impact the cost of borrowing money. And keep in mind that we currently have about $1.2 billion in outstanding debt, so it's a big deal. And once our tax base recovers sufficiently that we're able to reissue a new debt in the future, a rating will significantly impact the interest rate that you will have to pay on that debt when you go out and borrow. So that's the big issue.
And the second part is, what things could interfere with that? What would the district do where you might say to us, if you do that, it's going to impact the ratings? Maybe one or two, Rick. Don't go into.
Yeah, there are several things. I think one of the things that we have is we have board policies that are actually solid board policies that support a stable financial situation for the district. You have policies you have debt policies, you have investment policies, you have policies in place that kind of provide some security to the rating agencies that the board's actively involved in managing, or not managing, but overall overseeing the process. Secondly, you have a superintendent who listens to the recommendations from her staff regarding budget issues and financial matters, such that we do not have wild variations from year to year. For instance, and that's what they're looking at, is consistency of operations over time. If you decided to go out and spend a significant portion of your reserves in one year, as an example, that would be a red flag that the rating agencies would look at and say, okay, what happened here? What are you doing to mitigate it, and how are you going to, going forward, what are you doing to correct? So that would be one of the big things is if you do something one year that causes significant variations in your financial operations, it would throw up a red flag. And these guys are really sharp. I mean, that's what they do for a living, is analyze financial operations of school districts and other municipal entities. And they would notice that, and they would immediately give us a call, and they do that now. They call us when they hear that the legislature is considering something, or when there's a rumor that something may be happening. We'll get a call from a rating agency that says, "Hey, what are you guys doing about this?" To prepare for it. So it's an ongoing process to keep those ratings where they are, and the board has supported us on that.
Ms. Cadle.
Mr. Roach kind of was going down the road that I was going down, some of the comments or questions, but one of the things, and I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, and if you don't, that's fine, but in sitting in some of the meetings I've been in the past couple of months and listening to some of the challenges that other school boards are having, what percentage, or an approximation, what percentage of school districts in the state of Florida are in the same category that we are in these ratings? Are there many of them, or are most of them have been downgraded because of not having as much money or not having the conservative financial policies that we have?
I believe there are two school districts that currently have higher ratings than we do. I believe I think we're among a group of about 12 at that next level, and then everybody else is below us. So we're in that next to the top tier.
Which is pretty doggone good in this economy that we are coming out of. And Superintendent, and to all your staff, the fact that we've been able to continue that is really a feather in the cap to all of you who have been, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and giving us good information. And, one of the things that I have been able to do in my leadership through Florida School Boards Association is serve on the Florida School Boards Insurance Trust for 2 years as a trustee representing Florida School Boards Association. And I mean, hats off to everything you all are doing with health insurance. When I listen to some of the challenges that districts are having and the property insurance, and I know we struggled with that a few years ago, trying to figure out how are we going to be able to insure our buildings, and how much are we willing to say, okay, we're going to self-insure, and this is how much we're, that we can bite off and chew, and then after that, we're going to have to go to the market. I'm just continually amazed, but also pleased to say that we've got great financial policies, and the fact that there's 2 that are better, which, you know, all of us here, we don't like anyone better than we are, but 2 better, and we're in the top 12 out of 67 school districts, in my mind, speaks volumes to the leadership and what we've been doing. So thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Cato. Well, Superintendent Jenkins and Mr. Collins, thank you again very, very much. Board members, you know, I would encourage you going forward, as you know, we're embarking upon a literally over a 1-year period step-by-step assessment of our strategic plans. So most of what Mr. Collins just referred to, I would start printing it out before you come tonight, because I'm not sure everybody's going to have as much fidelity as Mr. Collins did to our requested format. Especially the extended scorecard data is particularly important as we go through this. Mr. Collins, I just want to commend you and your department. I think it's a hard balance to strike to both have the credit agency ratings that we have, while at the same time having the investment returns that we have. And if you look at that extended scorecard data, one thing that's very, very impressive to me, at least, is that our average return is far exceeding the benchmark returns in almost every single category, and yet we still have a very, very high rating from the various credit agencies. So I think that's a tribute to your management and to the superintendent's management. I also want to thank you for one other thing. I sit as a chair on the audit committee, and of course any board members free to come to those meetings. And one of the things that's always scared me about this job is I know my limits, and I'm an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm certainly not anybody with any great experience when it comes to financial instruments and various debt obligations. And some of our debt obligations, as with any large governmental entity, are very, very complex. And I ask the question every year when we get our audit if we are investing conservatively and if there's anything for us to be concerned about. And we have received sparkling audits the last 2 years, and they assure me that our investments are very, very safe and conservative, because frankly, that's something that would bite us without me knowing it till it hit the press if we ever did a misstep there. So thank you for that as well. The only thing I would like to ask you to look at, I don't even know if this falls in your category, but it's part of the extended scorecard. The part where it says when changes in property custodian occurs, complete tangible personal property inventory within 30 days. And we're hitting our benchmarks there. But this is a little bit off topic. It continues to give me heartburn that our lost property report every year by the end of the year is higher than I think it should be. And I just don't know, and I've sounded this before, I don't know why we can't go to some type of barcoding system and some type of measure, even if we have to collectively bargain it, or if a teacher or an employee loses something, whether it's a laptop, whether it's you know, you name your article, that there should be a way to recover it. Because I've talked to other folks in other areas of government, and other areas of government seem to do better than us in tracking that. And it's probably not a lot to a lot of folks in the whole scheme of things, because we do want a $1.5 billion operation. But at the same time, and I'm making this number up, I don't know if this is the exact number, when we get to the end of each year and I see that we're losing $300,000 of property, $400,000 of property, I just, every time I scratch my head and go, how is that possible? I mean, we just need better inventory control there. So if you could look at that or have your team look at that, I'd appreciate it. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd be glad to look at it. I think if you look at our numbers, and the superintendent is very, very strict in that area, she will beat us over the head if we lose something. So I think we probably, if we compare ourselves with other entities, school districts, or whatever, I think if you look at our numbers, and I believe last year, if I recall, the final number of lost or stolen items, it was around $84,000 total for the whole year. So it was a substantially, okay, I'll take a look at it. But as we've tracked that over the last several years, those numbers have come down dramatically, and I can provide the board with an update on the historical trend in that area to show how the amount of lost or stolen items have actually dropped dramatically over the last few years, especially. So I'll be glad to provide that extra data for you.
Okay, thank you. And the only reason I'm so confident, I'm going to turn back over to Mrs. Gordon, it's higher than as I've watched those religiously for 2 years, and it it climbs by the end of the year. Now, I will say, I think our target, and I understand ratio-wise it's very, very low. I think our target is, correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Collins, 0.5%, if what memory serves me right. So as a percentage, it's very low, but still, I've actually delved into it and looked at the items that have gone missing. It's like, well, how do we lose a laptop computer? How do we lose a computer card? How do we lose, don't laugh, but 1 year was a tractor. I mean, and eventually we find them, but, it's part of me is like, come on, I can't imagine, being a federal government employee and not being able to find a tractor and not having hell to pay for it. So,
I would add to Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Collins' response, two things. It is based on percentage and what is expected, but we say to staff, even 0.5%, any percent is unacceptable. We want our materials accounted for and found. And we do have a barcoding system in place for inventory. It is only for items that are in excess of a certain dollar amount. And we also have a committee that was formed, I believe, under Mr. Blocker, perhaps Rick, I have to remind you, maybe 2 years ago, where when an individual loses something or by neglect, such as placing a laptop on top of a stovetop, if that happens and it is the employee's neglect, then we do hold them accountable. There's a committee that reviews those issues when my dog ate it or some kind of story comes forward. For our materials and belongings, there is a committee that reviews it, and we have a method of recouping, even if we have to take portions from their check over a period of time. And so that was put in place 2 years ago to help hold employees accountable, as well as those who, when they leave our employment, sometimes perhaps forget to turn things in. We were looking at a means of trying to hold on to that final paycheck to make sure that was accounted for as well. So we came under some additional plans and scrutiny. Mr. Collins, you might speak to whether or not you think that's been effective lately.
Well, it has been effective. Like you said, Dr. Jenkins, when an item has been checked out to an individual employee, that employee is held accountable for that particular item. What happens, for the most part, is that these items that we're talking about as lost or stolen would be items that are actually, there's actually proof that there was a theft. But the items that are lost are items that just don't show up in the next inventory. So it's hard to hold a particular person accountable for that particular item. It just shows up as part of the inventory, and it's not it doesn't show up the next year as part of the overall school inventory. So it's an area, again, that the superintendent holds us very accountable for, and we would be glad to provide the data. I do believe, though, that we would rank fairly favorably as we try to compare ourselves with our counterparts. We do use a barcoding system, and we do a 100% inventory of all of our items every year.
Thank you. Mrs. Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, probably previously before you're coming on the board, that is one of my major concern, and I think I've even spoken about it the 2 years that going on your 4 years almost on this board. I think the previous superintendent realized exactly how hard this board has been on this report as it related to the fixed asset deletion and restoration report, and this is why we get that report every board meeting. I do have to say the procedures we ask, being that I'm the librarian, I'm the inventory, person, and we gave several suggestions to the superintendent and that department, and they did revamp. It was in a disarray in the very beginning, but we also included that as part of the superintendent's evaluation. So therefore, we know that the superintendent has to be on top of that, and not only the superintendent, but this board is definitely on top of it, and I'm one of the queens of that, because I really feel that a lot of the material that is checked out should be checked out properly. And you are absolutely right. Everything was not barcoded, and a lot of items were taken as soon as they were delivered. And there was several high schools where that incident did take place, but we were able to restore and recuperate and recover most of those items, just like in this report that's in 1101 on this board doc and agenda, that some of those items that were missing last year, I think over $7,000 of it has been reported. But one point that you brought up, Mr. Chairman, and I want to remind the superintendent, is that we're holding her accountable, and this does affect her evaluation for not getting the material, because this is actually taxpayers' money that somebody is not checking out the material properly. So the way it is checked into the school may need to go back from what you're saying, because it is getting a little higher. It's nowhere in the six figures where it was before. And I think we're at like 40,000 now, but some of that's a total, but some of it is surplus items, and like I stated, recovered item is in there. But I do have a major concern that Mr. Collins stated that bothers me. Everybody that checks out something needs to be accountable, and we must hold them accountable, and this board has to see to it. They, even after I gave my report 2 years ago, they told me that I had a laptop. And I had to bring the laptop in, and it was out of Christine's district that the laptop was loaned to me upon my coming on board, and it belonged to the other board member, and I forgot that I had the laptop. And since I was raising so much cane about it, they demanded through the superintendent, they said, well, she needs to bring in what she has. So I think some of us need to probably bring in what we have, and that was hysterical, because we had employees bringing in staple machines, and it was just hysterical. But I think that the process of the checking out and checking in and security, the security of the material, Mr. Chairman, is what I'm going to agree with you on, that where the weakness is. Because once that material has been checked out, that person is responsible. And if they do not replace it, then they need to pay for it. And I think we made that clear to the superintendent in previous years, and I think that that still stands today. So I'm glad that you brought it back up. But this is one thing, I keep my eyes on this one. And the reason why I did not bring it up in the last 3 board meetings is because that the report has gotten better. But I thank you for noticing that there are items that can be returned, and we're asking them to please return them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Ms. Moore.
Mr. Collins, I just had one question. I'm assuming that with the looming sequestration that you had some figures and some thoughts, or if you've heard from the federal government what would happen if we lose some funding initially, if there's the potential that it would be refunded later, and if you've thought through any kind of plan for Orange County Public Schools.
The sequestration at this point, of course, goes into effect on Friday. So probably the Congress will not get anything done before Friday. Could Congress take action later to make that their changes retroactive? Of course they could do that. In fact, many of the adjustments that are going to take place through the sequestration will occur later in the process, including the impact on public schools. The Title I impact and the IDEA impact will actually be for next year, next fiscal year. So there is a little bit of time if they work through the issues to modify the sequestration if they so desire to do that. So as far as the impact right now, the numbers that we've seen is that it would be a statewide impact in Title I of about $58 million. And a statewide impact in IDEA of about $33 million. Now, if you make an assumption, and again, I don't have the specific numbers for Orange County, but if you make the assumption that we generally run about 6 to 6.5% of the state total, then that would put the total impact on Orange County of somewhere around $6 million a year total. Now, with that being said, if we were in a situation like many of our surrounding districts are, where they're struggling right now with their base budget, and then you hit them with a loss of additional federal dollars, it would be a substantial impact on them. Not that it wouldn't be a substantial impact on us, but again, we have to thank the citizens of Orange County that they stepped up and put education first. So we're generating about $83 million per year from the 1 mil. Okay, so that puts us in a better position to deal with the loss of whatever that number may end up being as far as sequestration. We would go through the prioritization process, through the budget process as it comes up, and deal with whatever those potential adjustments are. So again, we're much more better positioned than most of our counterparts to deal with whatever that impact may be. Hopefully the impact will be relatively minor. Keep in mind, this board went through a $70 million adjustment back in 2008-9, and so that's what you were dealing with. So you probably could figure out how to go through a $6 to $7 million adjustment.
Ms. Moore, let me add to that as well. I think it's important for the board and the community to remember the $83 million from our community was to keep us from going over the cliff. So it's not that we have $83 million in surplus dollars. The $83 million was to keep us as close to flush as possible, and therefore the $6 million would not add additional insult to injury because we had those dollars that kept us close to flush.
And Madam Superintendent, may I just make one more quick comment? The only discouraging part of the sequestration is it really impacts the most fragile among our students at this point, which would be, the kids from poor homes and kids with disabilities. So those are the two areas that would be most impacted by the sequestration. So that's something that the superintendent and the board would have to deal with. How do you make sure that there's no decline in services in those areas to those kids who are most vulnerable?
All right, Mr. Collins, that was excellent. Thank you again for all your service to us. Superintendent, thank you very, very much. Let's do this. I don't have any further questions. Let's go ahead and jump right into recognizing our newly appointed administrators.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We only have two tonight. One is Sydney Moss, who is currently working for Seminole County Schools. He will become the new assistant principal at Ridgewood Park Elementary.
Alrighty. Good evening, Chairman Sublette, Vice Chairman Moore, distinguished board members, and Dr. Jenkins. I do want to first start by thanking Dr. Jara and Dr. Gordon and Dr. Fritzler and my new principal, Ms. Vanessa Moore, for entrusting me with the awesome responsibility to make sure that the students at Ridgewood Park Elementary receive a high-performing education. And I certainly would like to thank my parents and family and close friends who could not be here because they are back in Fort Lauderdale for their support over the years.
Next, we have Robin Brown, who is currently the assistant principal at Rolling Hills Elementary. Upon your approval, she will become the new principal at Lake Jim Elementary.
Good afternoon, Chairman Sublette, school board members, Dr. Jenkins, Dr. Gordon, Dr. Fritzler. I'd like to thank you for selecting me as the new principal at Lake Jim Elementary. I consider it an honor and a privilege to serve the students of Orange County as we move forward with our vision to be the top producer of successful students in the nation. I'd like to introduce all of my family members, particularly one of Orange County's finest, Miss Johnny Lang, former principal in the school system. Miss Lang, please stand. She was instrumental in my development. My sister, who is an academic coach at Catalina Elementary. My two children, Halim and Nayla Brown, please stand. Apopka daughters, and my brother, who is of much support to me, Malik Littles. Also, my principal, my mentor principal, my principal, Lakeisha Miller at Rolling Hills, and Deandra Woodard, friend and mentor. Thank you.
Mrs. Robinson.
I just wanted to congratulate both of the people who got appointed tonight since they're in District 6. Congratulations, Mr. Moss. I know you're going to enjoy things out at Ridgewood Park. You've got a lively bundle of energy there to keep up with. And like I said when she got appointed a couple weeks ago, I'm going to give you all a little time. I let the new guys get their feet wet, and then I'll come visit you. So anyway, congratulations. And then to Ms. Brown, I'm just so excited that if you had to leave Rolling Hills, you're just going down the street to Lake Jim. So I'm so excited for you, and I'll give you a little time too before I come visit. And Deandra, I'm so glad you're here tonight. A couple weeks ago when you were on the agenda that you moved to Tangelo Park, I did a little shout out for you. I'm so proud and so excited for you. So congratulations there. So enjoy, everybody. Go have fun.
Well, on behalf of the board, congratulations, and thank you for sticking with us this long through this meeting. I used to always try to get the superintendent, Mr. Blocker, before Dr. Jenkins, to let you all go, and I always loved Ron, and he delivered it much better than I could. He used to always say, no. They need to see how the school board works if they're going to be a principal. So this is sort of like a rite of initiation you have to go through before you become an AP or a principal. But I just want to congratulate you. It always strikes me whenever we do this part of the meeting, and I know I speak for the entire board, it's our favorite part of the meeting because it's such a recognition of your accomplishments, your professional accomplishments as educators. And it always strikes me that it really symbolizes trust. Trust on our part and the superintendent's part in your abilities, trust in your judgment, and most importantly, trust that you will take care of our children and will make sure that they receive a high-quality education. So thank you very, very much for your service to the children of Orange County. And, this looks like a pretty adult crowd, so I'll say go out, celebrate, have a cup of coffee, and it's FCAT rights, so you can leave at this time if you'd like, and thank you again for coming down here. Thank you. All right, Superintendent Jenkins, are there any changes to our agenda tonight? I'm sorry.
He muted you. He put the all. You muted. That he's getting. He really didn't want to know.
I accidentally hit the button on my control box up here. That's twice I've done that. I'm sorry, Superintendent. We're all yours.
Okay. Item 4.02, request approval to designate March 2013 as Youth Fine Arts Month was withdrawn. That was actually a duplicate in error of the last board meeting. Item 1403 is withdrawn. That is request approval of concurrency mitigation agreement, withdrawn at the attorney's request. And then item 1404 and 1405 are both withdrawn until we have some additional contract matters resolved regarding long-term facility use agreements for our medical facilities at Evans High School and Cheney, where we want to have healthcare facilities. Those are withdrawn, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the chair finds cause to amend the agenda as requested. Can I have a motion to do so? It's been moved by Vice Chair Moore. It's been seconded by Ms. Flynn. All those in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Show the agenda amended as stated. Y'all will laugh at this. We had a meeting about 8 months ago where I went back to the back room and said, you guys have got to fix that box so I can mute people, because it was one of our heated meetings where we had to get security to, sort of take care of something. And they did fix it, but they put it right at my fingertips. That's why I keep hitting it now, so it's not intentional. No, did I just do it again? So yeah, I'm going to have a move.
Mute.
There we go.
It's crazy.
Going to have tech come up here. Yes, you are, Mrs. Gordon.
It's not right.
Believe me, I've never attempted to use it with you. Okay, I'm just making it worse. There we go. All right, well, we figure this out. These guys are going to take it away from me. We do have one.
Now. And we had all those chairmen, and nobody ever muted us.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know, well, I'm just going to say it. Do we know who the folks in...
We are. We're about to recognize them if I could get the
Good,
speakers
because I didn't
working.
want the meeting to go on.
All right, we have one speaker tonight. We have some very, very special guests in the room tonight. I'm hoping that we can hear them when they come up. But we have, you know, I've used this phrase twice tonight, truly our unsung heroes. We have our social workers with us tonight, and it is, we are recognizing them on the consent agenda, which is why I have not recognized them before. And they've designated a spokesperson, Ms. Norma Mendoza, to come up and say a few words. And as you work your way up here, Ms. Mendoza, if you could, we'd love to hear from you. And I hope the board members will chime in on this. We just want to thank you for all the work you do in our schools. Gosh knows we don't receive adequate funding to have the number of social workers we would like in our schools. And I will share with you before I turn it over to Ms. Mendoza, I do a little bit of work in the juvenile courts. And this is a tremendous compliment to our social workers. Without exception, our juvenile judges who cover multiple counties go on and on and on about how wonderful Orange County Public Schools social workers are and how impressed they are with the work you do with some of our children who unfortunately need your services. So thank you very, very much for that. Ms. Mendoza.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Norma Mendoza, and I reside at 14315 Chevrolet Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32837. And I am a lead social worker for the Southwest Learning Community. On behalf of Orange County Public Schools social workers, I would like to take the time to thank the school board chairperson, Bill Supplett, school board members, Dr. Jenkins, superintendent, Dr. Anna Diaz, associate superintendent for exceptional student education, and Mary Bridges, exceptional student education director of psychological and social work services, for recognizing our profession. We are humbled and honored by the recognition you have bestowed on us today. We've had a busy year so far, and I would like to take the time to highlight some of our many accomplishments. School social workers are an integral part of our district. We are the ones behind scenes ensuring that students have the basic needs in order to attend school. Last August, we began the school year, as we always do, preparing for and coordinating backpack distributions. Every year, we receive a large donation of backpacks from a community church. This year, we received a total of 600 backpacks. September, October, and November, we resumed our normal yearly duties by working with parents and students as part of the Exceptional Student Education team, completing social histories and violence to ensure that our students in need are appropriately placed. We provided food and clothing to families in need. We assisted schools with attendance truancy issues, including positioning our truancy court to improve our district's overall attendance rate. We provided consultation to schools regarding possible child abuse cases, as well as being an essential part of each learning community's crisis response team, attending to schools who have lost students and reached out to parents in despair after the death of a child. Then came December. We really had a busy December. Through the help of local community churches, we were able to assist with the distribution of 900 holiday gifts. In addition, we received generous holiday gift donations from the ELC and Facilities Department through OCPS. In total, OCPS employees assisted 250 families with holiday gifts. In December, we also were asked by the Homeless Department to assist with Cool Fit project through the Dr. Phillips Foundation. The Cool Fit project's main focus was providing new clothing to eligible homeless students in our schools. As part of the project, many of our social workers knocked on doors and called numerous families to assure that all eligible students would be able to participate. With the assistance of our school homeless coordinators, homeless department, and school social workers, we were able to assist 2,200 students with receiving brand new clothing. We wear many hats as social workers, hats that are capable of changing lives. We are a united group, a group that takes care of its own and does whatever it needs to help others. From August 2012 to now, our statistics show that we have helped over 7,000 students in some way. We are that important link to bridge communication between family, the school, and the community. We are doing our part to assist OCPS vision to be the top producers of successful students in the nation. I would like to end with a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The purpose of life is not to be happy, it's to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Thank you.
Well said, Ms. Mendoza. Mr. Roach.
I wanted to just really say how much that we appreciate what you do, and to tell you that as an old counselor, these are the folks that are kind of the counselor's right hand, because counselors pretty much do their work on campus, but you've got to have somebody that's able to get off campus and bring that information back into the school so that we can work with them when we're there. And that is, I think that is so under the radar for many, many people outside of education to really know how valuable they are. And you got to ask yourself, if they weren't there, how would you get them to school? These are kids who do not want to come to school for various reasons. And I think Ms. Mendoza was right on when she talked about basic needs. You know, I always talk about, Maslow's basic needs, most often quoted, least understood guy, but he basically always said, kids are not interested in learning what's going on in school until the other needs are met. The safety, security, food, clothing, shelter needs are met, and these are the people out there taking care of that, and without them, literally thousands of students wouldn't even get to school. So I just want to tell you how much you're appreciated, and I wanted to make sure that everybody who didn't know your role knows your role, and so we need to keep going out there, keep those kids in school so we can graduate them. Thank you.
Mrs. Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm really surprised that you are here tonight, because your time does not stop at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or 4 o'clock. You're out there. Amen. You are out there with the families in the evening, and I have the 33rd Street Jail and a lot of the correctional facilities, and even I have to share my experience in Osceola County. We could not make it without the social workers at my school, because my students would not even be there if the social workers did not go to get those students to make sure that they are in school. I know your work. I know how hard you work. I've worked with you over 30 years in Orange County as a counselor and a teacher, and watching your work. You work hand in hand with the school psychologist. You're that team person for that principal, and the counselors could not get all of their work done, nor the psychologists, if it was not for what you do. I think that you're still underpaid. I do feel that you are still overworked, and I feel that you're never compensated for what you do, the extra things, and you do not ask for anything extra. And I feel, and I will always say, there's never and still not enough social workers. Even if you put one, and that is, and I know we fight for counselors, and we fight for our psychologists also, and librarians, and PE and art teachers, but you are one that we know with the way things are today, and I know how hard it was in the 60s, 70s, and a couple of you are still there from the 60s, and and it's okay, because I'm right here with you, but I know how hard it was then, but it's even tougher now, because we didn't have to deal openly with the drugs and the tragedy and violence that we see on our streets today. You have much more on your plate than any teacher or any principal could ever take. You are on the battlefield, and we, this board, thanks you from the bottom of our hearts, and we salute you. Thank you.
Ms. Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, want to thank everybody out there, because you do a good job, and a fantastic job. And it's one that really, I'm going to admit, I mean, I just sometimes can't imagine some of the things that you deal with. I just don't know they're out there. Just in the paper the other day, there was an article about students who are actually the caregivers for their parents or their grandparents or their or their siblings, and you just think, wow, these 7-year-olds, they're taking care of their parents who are sick, they're worried about that. It was one more thing that I thought, wow, the load on on these kids is sometimes you just think they don't get a break. But thanks to you guys, you're there to hopefully lend them a hand up. And I just want to say, keep telling us about what you do, because sometimes if you don't live in that world, if you don't do what you do, it's just hard to imagine some of the things that are out there. So I thank you.
Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly wouldn't let this opportunity pass without adding my thanks to our social workers. In public education, there are so many unsung heroes. We can never thank enough or pay enough for all that they do for 185,000 students here in Orange County. But I want to add my verbal thanks to our wonderful social workers tonight as well.
Let me echo that. I've never met a social worker in my life who was adequately paid, to be honest with you. And that's a shame, because I think the work you do is among the most important work that you could do in society. Winston Churchill has a saying that I love. This board's heard me say it a million times, and that is that he once said that we make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give. And I think that that applies in really to your entire profession. So thank you very, very much for what you do for our students, and thank you for coming down here tonight. And if you could all stand collectively and let us all give you a big hand. Thank you. And it is FCAT rights time, so you probably have social work to do. So if you'd like to leave, you can. Or if you want to stick around and watch the sausage get made, you can do that too. Thank you. All right, can I have a, well, before we take a motion to approve the consent agenda, I also want to point out, board members, that we have also with us here a number of representatives of some of our high-performing charter schools, including our UCP schools and some of our alternative schools, Sheeler and Chancery, and the others who are having contract extensions tonight, and Orlando Science as well. And, you know, I always like to point out that, unfortunately, and oftentimes, too often justifiably, our failing charter schools get all the press and media, but we have a number of charter schools that we're very, very proud of in Orange County, and some of them are getting their contracts extended tonight. So thank you for all your good work on behalf of the students of Orange County. Some of you fill very, very important niches for us, whether it's students who have struggled academically, or students have struggled behaviorally, or students who, frankly, have dropped back in and need a second chance, or students who have physical disabilities or mental disabilities. And frankly, you provide invaluable service. So I think sometimes we focus too much on the negative and not on the positive that our charters do. And you're some of the crowd that we really deserve recognition tonight. Mr. Roach, did you want to add to that?
I do, because when when I saw them come in tonight and saw them on the agenda the other day, I thought, you know, I wanted to make sure that you all know that you're the ones I think that we are really, we need to take our hats off to you, because you are simply graduating students that just don't fit into a lot of our traditional schools. And I know that you're doing a great service to the community when you give these kids a chance. So it didn't take me more than an hour visit out to, we got Chancery, Sheeler, and Loma, and then of course Einstein is here, and I know you're right in the ballpark. Maybe we're a different level kid, but it didn't take me long at all to realize, okay, we probably can't do this. This is something that we need to be able to embrace and to and join up with. And so I'm real proud of what you're doing. Thanks for helping our kids. For every kid you get out there and get a graduation diploma is just a huge help for not only them, but I think for the entire community. So thanks, and I'm real proud to vote yay on this one tonight.
Amen. And I don't want to muddy the water, but I also want to point out, because anybody who's looking at the agenda will also point out that we are closing a charter school tonight, or they're voluntarily closing. So, Dr. Bernier, I want to thank you. This board has taken particular attention to our charters, and I think that we do a very, very good job under Dr. Bernier's leadership of monitoring them to the extent we can monitor them. And from what I know of this particular closure, it was a blessedly clean closure. And I think a lot of the credit for that goes to Superintendent Jenkins and Dr. Bernier. And I think we were able to allow this one to close down before any problems got out of hand. So we really appreciate your vigilance on our behalf, Dr. Bernier, when it comes to doing what we can with the limited tools in our box, monitoring the charter schools in our district. So thank you. So with that, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move the approval, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved by Mrs. Gordon, second by Mr. Roach. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Show that motion adopted. All right. Report by, or non-action items by the school board or superintendent. Actually, let me go to item 18 first by the attorney. Mr. Rodriguez, any report?
Board members, just want to give you an update that both the superintendent and I are now part of this family of, it's a steering committee created by the Florida Supreme Court. Justice Barbara Pariente is the one that's leading the charge. It has been looking at some of the issues with regards to student discipline, how the courts interact with families, as well as what ends up happening to our students in terms of suspensions. And I know you've seen some information about civil citations. I'm also working with our office to look at some progressive policies to perhaps bring back to the board in conjunction with the superintendent, direction from the chairman and members of the board. And we hope that all these efforts will lead to a better resolution to some of the issues we've seen in the news of late. So we do have our first meeting. I guess we're both attending. I attended a meeting back in October of last year, but our first joint meeting will be in March. Most of the meetings are in Orlando, which was also favorable for consideration. But it's a nice group, a lot of judges and others that are part of the family law system, the family court system. So we hope to have some good input and results back from that.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Any questions or comments on that before I move on to superintendent? You know, I just want to encourage something that we talked about at a recent meeting, which is I really hope that we do some type of PR program or on our closed circuit television systems in our schools. One thing that is bothering me immensely in the last year is it just seems like we're seeing an explosion of kids getting into serious trouble because of what they post on Facebook or other social media. And I don't know how we get that word out, but I really hope we do a nice 30-second, 60-second series of spots where, without naming names, we use concrete examples of kids who have been expelled or suspended because of threats made, inappropriate comments made on social media, because I'm sure we're no different than every other district in America, but I just don't think these kids realize how serious the things they say on social media are. And every board meeting, when I see an expulsion or a suspension, it just pains me, because I'm not always sure the kids took it seriously enough. Superintendent, let me turn it over to you for any action items or reports by you.
A couple of report items, Mr. Chairman, but I would like the board to know we are working on those PSAs, whatever you might call them, for our closed-circuit TV for our young people, because although it's been said to them verbally, I think we've got to get the message across more strongly. So I wanted you to know our PR department has been working on that project, and we'll bring something back to share with the board as well. Because we think if we feature some students on their level, it might have a greater impact. Additionally, I am certainly pleased and honored to join the advisory committee that the Florida State Supreme Court appointed. I believe there's one other superintendent on it, but I'm pleased to engage around the topic that is critical in our community, around the notion of our young people entering the juvenile justice system. And the whole matter of civil citations is certainly a part of that discussion. So we're very pleased about that. Wanted to tell the board, although it was painful to go and come back that quickly from the West Coast, there was a very exciting meeting hosted and paid for by College Board around diversity leadership. Some invited superintendents and trustees from College Board and professors from universities as well, around the whole conversation of what are we going to do about the epidemic proportions of negative statistics coming out around minority males, and not just one minority group, but when they compile all of the literature and the research, they really can look at some consistent issues around minority males in general, and around some strategies that we ought to be putting in place if this country and if any school district is really going to have an impact on both employability and economics, and also on graduation rates and curtailing the pathways that are negative for young males. They have to pay attention to that, and it has to be a focused effort. I will share with you the numbers and the data, the charts. They are shocking for the nation, as well as some concerns we have here locally. And so I'm excited about some direction that we can take and some impetus in partnership with the College Board that we can really look forward to around that. I think it'll help us when we deal with closing our achievement gaps. Then lastly, I wanted to mention Secondly, I wanted to mention we will be in Tallahassee on March 5th at the invitation of the governor for his State of the State address, which I understand there'll be activities throughout that day, and that Orange County will somehow be mentioned or recognized or highlighted, I think was the term. So we're happy to be present for that. Ms. Cato will also be there as part of the president of the Florida School Boards Association, and we'll certainly bring back a report on that as well. And then lastly, hope everyone has on their calendar at 4 o'clock tomorrow to sit in on our debrief on the report that comes from our Broad Foundation grant, and RMC Research will be presenting that information. We will provide the full report to board members. 1:30 is when she will be speaking to my leadership team, and then at 3 o'clock a group of principals will come and hear about it, and then at 4 o'clock the school board. But I want to assure you, in your emails tomorrow, quite early, you will have the full report for your review prior to the time that we come together. So we're excited about it. We think there's some great information there that will inform us going forward on how we might proceed, but also some great information that shows how much we are doing right here in the district. And thanks to Ron Blocker, during his tenure here, we have so many positive things to celebrate as well. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about our future. I think we're at a tipping point. You remember that terminology from our school board training in so many areas, and so we'll look forward to that tomorrow as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Superintendent Jenkins. Mrs. Robinson.
I just had a comment I wanted to make, but I didn't know where you wanted me to.
Now's a good time.
Okay.
We're on agenda items or issues for discussion.
Since we had the privilege of honoring 2 state champion teams tonight, I wanted to point out that we got 2 state champions on Saturday. We got the girls basketball team, and Dr. Phillips won for the 3rd year in a row, and the girls at Edgewater High School won for the 2nd year in a row. And I got to watch the Edgewater game on TV. That actually was live. Bright House had it on live. And I wanted to point out, and I don't think Dr. Schuler is here. Is Kathy Schuler way back there, and I just can't see her? Her daughter, just so everyone knows, her daughter plays on the Edgewater basketball team, and she was the MVP of the team, of the game, 17 points, 11 rebounds, and she scored the last foul throw shot. Is that what that's called? Free throw. Free throw to take them up 50-49 and win the game. So if y'all see Dr. Schuler anywhere and you're walking around this week, make sure you tell her daughter's phenomenal, and she's only a junior, so she'll be returning next year. Thank you.
Great point. I didn't realize that was her daughter. Her coach even said she had veins of ice, and commending her for that. Yeah, or ice in her veins, I should say. I mutilated that. Mrs. Gordon.
Yes, I did want the superintendent and the board to know that I will not be able to be here because in celebration of Black History, we already had a commitment that we had made for tomorrow evening with a group of school students, well, a lot of them, and their parents. So I would like some type of formal update on that, and if they, if ever information is given out, that could be emailed to me, or either I would like the superintendent, Mr. Chairman, to share either the staff member to go over so that I could keep up to date on that. And also, I don't know if I need to ask Ms. McGill, but in honor of Black History Month, we were able to celebrate last Wednesday, and that program is going to be aired. Mrs. McGill, do you know the dates? It's going to be on Bright House. It will be on the government channel, and I think you would be just surprised at the number of businesses, and that was not even half of the businesses that work with the school. I think it was just one business or one representative from each school in School Board District 5, and we've been doing that for the last 12 years. And I want to thank the staff that really, the superintendent gave us board service with Kathy Levine, and then also with Kathy Marsh and Anna, and I just really want to thank Dylan Thomas and his department. They did an outstanding job, along with Mel and her staff. But it was a wonderful program. As you will probably see people that you know, but I could not believe how everybody commented on Mr. Morris, his report that he gave on the updates of the school. Most people did not know that there were also A schools in the most diverse district in the county. They said, oh, we didn't know that. And some people said they were just invited as a guest, and they thought that they had to be invited. But it's the only people that are invited are the honorees. It is an open meeting to anybody in the public. So, Ms. McGill, if you could get those dates that it's going to be aired and get that to us, please. I don't know, Mr. Dylan Thomas and his department, if they have those dates, but it will be on Bright House and it will be on the Government Access Channel. I think the same station that broadcasts the school board. So I think that would be a wonderful program. It's only 1 hour, and I think it's very exciting, and we really want to thank the area superintendents for their support. Thank you so much.
Any other reports, board members, before I go through the work session schedule or comments? Anything you like? Okay. We've got a very, very busy next 2 months coming up with some critical issues coming to either closure or to a head. First of all, Superintendent, thank you. It was a great program on CTE that we had the other day. Board members, March 5th, the reason there's no work session there, that's our recognition meeting date, so you want to pay attention to that if you don't already have it on your calendar. Then we have the value-added model we didn't get to. Then we have the ESE follow-up, which Dr. Diaz has done a ton of work since we had those 2 meetings. Gosh, was it last spring or last spring, I think. So I'm looking forward to that. We have mental health programs that Ms. Gould had requested, and counseling, Mr. Roach had requested that coming up in April. Then we have the CADE follow-up, where I'm hoping, board members, with your help, we can get some closure and make some final decisions on CADE so we can let the community know what we're going to do on those, and then digital instruction technology. Then we have that all-important facilities condition assessment on April 25th that I think we're all eagerly anticipating, which will lead into the decision-making meeting on how we go forward on June 18th on the sales tax or the millage renewal. And what we choose to do. And then we also have on May 9th a customer service follow-up, and I'm sure you all have been tracking it, but Dr. Kent has been doing a ton of work there as well. So I'm looking forward to that to get a thorough briefing on customer service. So a lot of initiatives that we started last year, I'm hoping we'll see a lot of progress on. In fact, I know we will, and that's been made under the superintendent's leadership. Any questions on that, or is there anything I'm missing for a work session, Mrs. Gordon?
It really probably will be a work session. I think that the superintendent has received a date from my principal in reference to the alternative, school as it relates to behavior. And I think Mr. Roach alluded to the charter schools tonight, saying what they could do. But if Osceola could do it, we wanted to look at it also. And I think that date, and I believe that's going to be May the 16th. I believe that's when everybody may be available so that we can take a look at that type of model. And that would probably be some type of work session to see if that's the route we may want to go for OCPS. We are in competition. I have to keep saying that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And we have that meeting scheduled. We also have the PSP rollout on April 9th. You all will get an electronic invitation to that. We hope to get about 100 people at that, and I hope every board member who's available that morning can make that, because I think that's important. Ms. Cadle.
I'm a little bit concerned with our work session schedule because having been chairman of this board, there are budget things that have to be decided. And my guess is they have to be decided very shortly. We are keeping in mind that we need to schedule those.
Yeah.
We are. Actually, we're trying to schedule 2 of them. But anyway, yes, we're working on that and have been for about the last 2 weeks.
Okay, I just want
dates. We know we need 2 before June.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because we're not going anywhere if we don't have a budget, and we're going to be in trouble.
We'll have a budget. The Constitution requires it. We'll have one. All right, anything else? Any other work sessions? Okay, with that, then, good meeting, guys. We're adjourned.
Here's a question for every parent out there. If you could fast forward 20 years to see how your kid's doing in life, would you do it? Well, we can't time travel yet, but we can see the future better with the new Common Core state standards in our schools. They set clear goals for every stage of learning, and they're the same for everyone no matter what zip code you're in. So you can be sure your student is really grasping what she needs to know to get to graduation and beyond. Find out how it all works at commoncoreworks.org.